In order to be successful in government contracting, you have to know how it works, okay? Right now, everybody's pouring money into the government's pocket. Everybody. We're all taxpayers. People are paying employee taxes. Then you're consuming things and buying goods and services. Then there's sales taxes that you're putting back into the government's pocket. Then there's income taxes. When you make money as a business, you put money back into the government's pocket. But most people only find themselves in this part of the ecosystem. They're giving. They're putting back into the government. Very seldomly do you see people falling into this category, government contracting, right? You can put yourself in the way of the money. Just by becoming a certified vendor for the government. It's another client. That's all it is. It's a client that guarantees half money, and they guaranteed have to spend it with you. Come on. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, so how many of you in the room are willing and ready to take your business you want to add an additional $1 million to your business? The information I'm getting ready to share with you is a streamlined, real strategy. If you tap into the things that I'm going to share with you, you can easily add an additional multiple six figures to $1 million a year to your business bottom line just by following the blueprint. All right, so let's get into it. I started my entrepreneurial journey over 20 years ago, so I started when I was 10. No, 2 decades, right? But I started with a small photography business, and of course that sounds great, but being a woman and a minority-owned woman-owned business as well, at that point, it wasn't always great, right? I went into business thinking that you have to spend 80 hours in a week, right, to make at least a little bit of money. And that's why initially those things did not work for me. And I was probably stuck at $20,000 to $30,000 per year working over 70 hours in a week. Really hard, right? So I thought in order for me to be successful, I had to work hard and hustle hard too. But it wasn't until I met a black millionaire. So I took a serious look at government contracting and what it could do for myself and for my family. And I decided that I was going to figure it out. He didn't have a blueprint to give me because he didn't document his success. He just know that he was a multi-billionaire, right? So I had to figure it out the hard way. So it took me a couple years to figure it out, and I did all the wrong things at first until I figured out how to do it the right way because I had 2 children, and I'm getting ready to get a divorce, and I had some bills to pay, and I'm like, I have to make this work. And so when I first figured it out, I went from making $30,000 a year at 70 hours a week to securing my first $70,000 in just 28 days of work. And you want to know what it was for that blew my mind? Taking pictures. You could pull out a camera. I knew absolutely nothing about ISOs and frameworks. I didn't know anything about lighting. I didn't know anything about anything. I was just the person that was willing to show up and raise my hand and say, I know you have money for women and minority-owned businesses. I am that woman that you say you have 26% of your contracting opportunities for, and I raised my hand. So that's all you got to do is raise your hand. Anybody can raise their hand, right? It's just that easy, right? Raise your hand. And it literally changed my life. So today I'm going to share with you what is government contracting, how to qualify your business for landing lucrative government contracts. I'm going to touch on certifications and leverage so you guys can know what that is. I'm going to talk about the spend and the promise. So what is government contracting? So government contracting in its simplest terms is the process of doing business with the government. It's a customer. They are a customer. Most people think the government and then here are the individual clients, but you got to think about one to many because in these government buildings are many people. They're regular everyday people. They're just buying in bulk, right? So that's the difference. So the same way that you can sell a service or a product to a person, you can sell the service or a product to the government. And guess what? They buy everything from haircuts to janitorial cleaning service to marketing services to pet food and cameras and all those things. They buy literally everything. So that if you can sell it to a person, you can sell it to the government. But here's how you qualify. Not just anyone can just walk up and say, hey, I'm a woman in business or I'm a minority business owner. Give me my piece of the pie. I know that you have 26% that you have to spend. You have to show up, right? A kind of way. How do you show up a certain kind of way? You have to have the right type of business foundation. All of our childhood story, it starts with a foundation. But when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, most people want to skip the foundation and they want to go get to the results. But it's no, the government says, here's your beginning. If you can have these things, a business license that shows that you're legitimately in business and you're a taxpayer under your business and not just doing things under the table. If you can get an EIN and a driver's license and prove your citizenship, if you can provide 2 to 3 years of taxes, whether it's business or personal. Now, if you've been in business for 3 years and you've made more than $600, you have to file taxes. If you haven't been in business and you have had a job, then you have to provide your personal taxes in its place, right? But either way, you have to show something. A profit and loss statement, most entrepreneurs don't even know how much their profit is, right? So if you don't know your numbers, how can you count trillions of dollars in opportunities? What are you going to do with that money, right? So this shows that, okay, this person is credible. They're ready to take their business to the next level because they have stability, right? So you have to have your ducks in order. All right. So certifications and leverage. Let's talk about certifications a little bit. If you have not, in order for you to participate in this pool of money that is streaming and flowing down your street every single day, whether you know it or not, that sign out there, somebody had to put that sign there, right? When that building went up, this city, the city of Atlanta, had a 26% obligation to make this build of that building right across the street go to small business entrepreneurs. So a small business had to paint that sign and hang it. A small business had to go into the pour and the build and the development. A small business had to paint and do the graphic design and the architecture of that business. They had to. These big architectures and the big general contractors, they had to give a piece of that pie, and I'm pretty sure that is a multi-billion-dollar business build out right there. So imagine what that can do for you in your town, right? All these buses that drive down the street, a small business has to maintain those buses, right? A small business has to go on and install the seats on the buses. A small business entrepreneur has to be the one that installs where they pay, the pay terminal. That's a small business government contract. So money is everywhere. It's just that the average person cannot see, right? But when you know and you learn the process to tapping into these government contracts, then you'll be able to see that the money is there and you'll know how to tap into it. So it's not enough just to say that I'm a minority-owned business. There's a process, and it is hefty. It's a long and hefty process. But that is why there's the 2% and there's the 98%. Because the 2% are willing to do what the 98% won't do. It's a long, lengthy process to get those certifications done, right? You have to go through a formal process. They can see my skin and see that I'm brown, right? That means absolutely nothing, right? You have to certify your business as a minority business owner. And you have to prove that you're a minority business owner, right? Which is why they ask for your birth certificate and all these different things, right? You also have to prove that you're a small business. According to the Small Business Administration, a small business is any company that has under 500 employees. Isn't that crazy? So then when you think about, you probably have 1 or 2, maybe even 10, right? You're like, what does that make me? Where does that put me? I'm a micro small business. But it's okay because they have opportunities for you to certify your business as a micro small business as well. But either way, you're a small business. And the great thing about becoming small business certified is they have to. They're obligated. They're mandated to give the money to you. Who wouldn't want a customer that has a check already ready to be written with your name on it? All you got to do is show up and say, here I am. Do you know what the problem is in the government contracting space? Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to take some time to invite you to join me in the GovCon Challenge. The GovCon Challenge takes place once a month, where I invite a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to come and have me teach you the 5 things you must do to pre-qualify your business to land lucrative contracts with the government. So join me in the GovCon Challenge. Click on the link in the description. You'll be glad you did. Join as VIP for exclusive behind-the-scenes information, and you could become a part of the top 1% of entrepreneurs across the nation. Now back to the video you were watching. They have so much money that at the end of the fiscal year, they actually get in trouble for not spending. That's a huge problem. So the government has a problem. Who would like to help them solve it? You solve the government's problem by positioning yourself to be the partaker of that particular spend. But only the few are willing to participate and to do the work, right? So that's it. And then there are some different certifications. So these particular certifications open up different levels of government, okay? There's local, state, federal. On the local level, there are, so check with your city and find out what small business certifications they have. Sometimes on a local level, you gotta be a locally registered business that's certified as a local business so you can participate in that local spend. Sometimes they also have local spending for local minorities and local women, but find out what local programs they have and register. On the state level, there are 2 to 3 different certifications that open up opportunities on the state level, and that is the disadvantaged business enterprise. And generally speaking, a disadvantaged enterprise is a small business according to the small business term, and that makes under average $30 million a year for 5 years. Anybody disadvantaged in the book? Anybody disadvantaged? Okay, that's me. That's me. It's a great problem to have, right? But when I look at these opportunities and I look at the numbers and the thresholds that they're setting, and I also look at the opportunities as stepping stairs, right, to be able to close the wealth gaps. Because they're saying, we got the money and we have the contracts. And if you want the money, you got to apply for the contracts, right? And as you get the money, you get to help close the wealth gaps in the middle class and lower class communities. But you got to be willing to show up. And then on the federal level, everybody, this is the level everybody pretty much know about because of YouTube and Google and all this stuff. Most people show up and they're like, I have my SAM UEI number. And I'm like, oh, you just beginning. And that goes over so many people, oh, you just getting started. So in order to get federally certified, there are certifications that are there. It's a small business enterprise. Plus also for women, there's an additional WOSB and economically disadvantaged WOSB, as well as any service disabled veteran certification. Those are the certifications on the federal level. So if you're a veteran, if you're a service disabled veteran, there is money on the table for you that you are missing. And if you want to go get it, you got to do the work. Okay, so here's how I view a contractor, which is you, the redistributor of wealth. That's how I define government contractors. A person who redistributes wealth. All the wealth is here. When you become a government contractor, you have more money. Somebody say more money. Somebody say more profits, more time, more assets, and you can create generational wealth and live virtually tax-free. Virtually, because instead of paying out of your hard-earned money to pay the government for taxes that everybody got to pay, you get the money from the government and pay them a piece of the money that they gave you to pay them their taxes, right? So now you're virtually living tax-free because you're getting the money from the source and just putting a little bit back into it. So now when you put the money back into it, now you're getting money and creating wealth, and then you're hiring people, and then now you can become a bigger part or better part or smart or part of this ecosystem.